Eliminating the successor to plagiarism, identifying the usage of contract cheating sites. 10 years on. Welcome to what's going to be quite an unusual presentation by me, Dr. Thomas Lancaster, because in this presentation I'm going to look at the very first conference reveal of contract cheating and talk you through what's really pretty much the same slides, but reframe them based on what's happened in 10 years, because right now we're at the 10-year anniversary for our contract cheating research. And the context of this really is that I began looking at the whole area of plagiarism and academic integrity way back in January 2000 when I started my PhD at London South Bank University, completed that January 2003, and contract cheating, or as I thought about it then, non-originality agencies, the services that students can use to get work done for them, were certainly part of my PhD thought process, but they didn't apply directly to the PhD. I joined what was then University of Central England, it's now known as Birmingham City University, and started working particularly with Robert Clarke on looking at the type of sites available for students to use to get original work produced for them, and the whole issue of what became known as contract cheating in really 2004 when we wrote the materials and collected data. And now I work at Coventry University, which is the next university in my journey. Still very interested, still working in a wider area of plagiarism, and lots of great work going on at Coventry as well that I'm also involved with. So it's a real interesting area of academic integrity. I mentioned Detective Bob, Robert Clarke, who completely indebted to for doing this research. He's now largely retired, but he still teaches, he still spends his evenings finding assignments online. More than 30,000 of them, helped to reunite them with their owners, and in 2005 he collected together most of the data which I'm going to refer to in this presentation. It's the same data I presented in 2006, and many of the concepts and principles are just as valid and valuable now as they were then. So I mentioned 2006. What did I present? It was at the JISC International Plagiarism Conference, the second one that they ran in Gateshead there, and these were the 8 slides. You'll notice the second slide there had links to various online sites as well, so it was slightly more than that. But backing up all this presented material was quite a meaty paper as well, which you can still find online, even though you can't find these particular slides. But I'm going to use these exact same slides, just very slightly reformatted into the style I use today in this presentation. This is the paper as well. This is the Google Scholar reference to it from the 19th of June. It was a Monday, 2006, looking at the growing problem of contract cheating, the successor of plagiarism. So what happens when it's no longer effective just to copy words from the internet and hand them in, because Turnitin and other sources will find it? Will you move on to getting work written for you? And you can see this has been pretty well cited. It's clearly the dominant paper in this field, because it's one that originated and introduced this problem, and any paper like this is really well cited. But I think also the information in this paper was pretty good, and the citations I believe are quite a bit higher than this, because Google doesn't capture everything. So I started by mentioning these 4 sites used for cheating in 2006, and this is the sites identified in the original paper back in 2006: cheathouse.com, elizabethhall.com, ebay.com, rentacoda.com, and really they're just a selection of all the different ways in which a student can cheat. And here's the first one of these, cheathouse.com. You don't see sites looking so much like that anymore, because the whole way that sites are presented has changed quite a lot now, but you can see thousands of free essays in over 130 categories, leading the industry since 1995. So even they are talking about their 10-year or 11-year anniversary back in 2006. And it mentions 60,000 free essays waiting for you if you contribute to the database. The idea of this site was you upload one of your own essays, one of your own academic papers, your research papers, and you get access to all these other ones. And you've got things there like area and country studies, 1,005 papers, the arts, 4,475 papers, and it scrolls down quite a long way from there. And In fact, the left there said I think it's 64,000 essays that you've got. 45 of them uploaded on that very day, 135 pending, and over 26,000 comments. We are talking some quite substantial user base of people just wanting to find an essay like the one they need to hand in. Chances are at that time it may or may not be picked up by a Turnitin search, particularly as not all universities use Turnitin or there are other types of detection at the time. This is the chat down the left hand side. Students talking about how happy they are to have this site as well. So things like I've never used an internet essay before, but I work 8 to 5 Monday to Friday and I'm in school full time. This is the last week of school and I really just haven't got time. So people justifying the cheating that they do, and I can tell you that this same type of justification happens today. People still talk about being too busy, but unfortunately being busy is just part and parcel of life. When you're a student or when you're not a student or when you're working as a professional, you are going to be busy. You've got to find ways to work around, and essays are there for a reason, assignments are there for a reason, to help people to learn. And so these sites did exist, these sites where people just dump all their assignments. They were very prominent 10 years ago. What does cheathouse.com look like now? Does it still exist? Well, you may be surprised to learn that it does, but it's in this very different format, much more modern, and the old cheathouse.com site now redirects to studymode.com. Presumably to legitimize the type of service being offered, because sites setting out to help people to cheat aren't so much in vogue now, although there's many of them slightly reframed in a different way. So here you can type in an essay topic, assignment, or a speech, and you get thousands of papers available. So really it's a very similar type service, but what they do on this site, which probably is quite good, is they do say that they partner with Turnitin, so therefore there's no really advantage to a student taking an assignment from Studymode and handing it in as their own work, because chances are if this goes through Turnitin that it's going to be caught. So this is moving much more into the direction of model essays designed to help people to learn, but not designed to do the work for them, which I think is one positive move in the past 10 years. And it's really adding that bit of legitimacy to the site offering. Here's another site which was very big 10 years ago. It's still very big now, elizabethhall.com, and this is what I would call a contract cheating site in today's language, because this is very much helping people to get their work done for them. It talks about, we will do your work, we'll give you 14 days to pay, you have absolute confidentiality when you work with us, because you've got signed terms of engagement, your work won't be sold on to a third party, and it's customized one-off academic writing, and that line there, still valid today, not detectable by anti-plagiarism software. So Elizabeth Hall delivering essays, dissertations, research proposals, and journal articles. Well, this was the type of prices going on, incidentally, might be of interest to you. Charged by the hour, more unusual now. Most essay writing services, contract cheating sites, are charged by the word, but even then you could get work done all the way up to doctorate level if you're willing to pay £50 an hour. Probably quite a substantial investment though, because if you look closely at the site, there's a lot of work goes into writing. It's all the data collection, all the planning, all the reviews as well, not just someone putting down words to paper, which really is a model you would follow when you're writing a doctorate anyway. Well, does it still exist? Yes, here we have Elizabeth Hall Associates today. It's just a much more modernized version of the site. You notice we've no longer got a big picture of Elizabeth Hall herself, but actually very happy business people, perhaps suggesting this is aimed at the upper end of the market for contract cheating. So it's people with money to spend wanting work done for them. It's still offering plagiarism-proof scripts and also a guarantee £1,000 if you're caught. And using different language such as academic ghostwriting now, dissertation ghostwriting, a very big area, and MBA ghostwriting. I've talked about this a lot more in my presentation, A Decade of Contract Cheating, and you can access a YouTube video to see how that site has changed, but the whole marketing behind sites has changed substantially in the past 10 years, and to me is one of the real interesting areas of research in this whole field of contract cheating and academic integrity. This is the third site I discussed in my original presentation about contract cheating, which is used to help students get work they shouldn't have access to buy work online, and it's eBay. And it's very interesting to look at this. A first class honours marketing dissertation, marketing still being an area which is massive today in terms of getting cheating done for you. Now, the difference here, of course, this item being shipped from Dublin, this is the UK eBay site, is that this is buying some work that's already been handed in. So hopefully this is now in a database somewhere, particularly if more students have purchased this work since. But if you were to drill into this a bit more, you will find that this was sold several times, so several people had access to this, hopefully just as a model dissertation or thesis, but more likely as something that they could take and put past an unsuspecting project supervisor or dissertation supervisor as if it were their own work. Here's some more detail from the text that you are bidding on this. There it got 75%, and the cause of much time and energy. You can almost understand why the student wants to get something back from the hard work, even though hopefully they've had something back and now they've had a very good career in the past 10 years. But 38,000 words, so that's book length there as well, and much better than other dissertations being sold on eBay, because there's a whole big trade on this at the time. Now, this person did have something that I'm very happy to read, that they do mention they don't condone plagiarism. It's here as a study aid. Certainly they didn't want this resold, so you buy this from them, you can't then sell it on to somebody else. It's not a chain effect, but who knows what really happened, and this student would have no way of knowing what happened to their dissertation once they decided to put it out there and to sell it. And if they were really clear about this, then they wouldn't sell it at all. They would just make it available via other means, so it could be indexed by plagiarism detection services. Does eBay still host work for sale? Well, sort of. I had a quick look, and what we're actually getting now is we're getting contract cheating type adverts appearing. So the top one there, editing and proofreading your thesis, dissertation or essay. This could well be offering a contract cheating service, because so many editing services actually turn out to be doing work for students or changing them around so much that it may as well not be the student's own work in the first place. You can see another one there, the second one down, proofreading and editing service for school papers, blogs, online articles. So not just academic work, this could be other areas as well, because writing is writing. You can write an academic paper quite often just as easily as a blog post, and indeed you get these assignments I used to quite like, where people would write a blog instead of an academic paper, but nowadays they seem a bit old hat. And then the third example on that page, custom essay, term research, critical paper writing for college university students. Well, there's very little doubt about what's being offered there, and perhaps more worrying is that big red text underneath that 146 sold from this company that claims to be in the United States. So there's all kinds of ways that students can be exposed to writing services and contract cheating services, whether they want to be or not. Here's the final site, and really the whole site in which all the contract cheating research has been based that I've been involved with, or most of the quantitative data, the data collection areas. And this site, rentacoda.com, and this was the very example I included there. Collage project e-commerce B2C retailing system for a nutritional product sales company. Again, there's quite a lot more detail about this one in my 10 years of contract cheating video, or a decade of contract cheating video, which was one of my keynote style presentations there. But this site, people bid to get work produced for them. So a student puts up their work, and I'll show you more about how this works in a few slides time. Back on June 11th, 2006, this is very timely when I did the talk, there had been 13 bids posted up to a maximum of $200. So people actually really wanted to do this work, and as you'll see in a decade of contract cheating, there's just as many people bidding today. In fact, we can take a look at some of the type of requests that are up on what's vworker.com. So it's a complicated story of, again, sites changing names. Rentacoda.com was taken over by another site, and it's now merged in with vworker.com. But here are just 4 examples I grabbed, what's really outside of term time, so you wouldn't expect that much stuff, but the kind of thing, writing a business essay on monetary policy. I posted 8 hours ago, 21 bids, 3,000 words. Just a standard one called Academic Writing, posted 5 days ago, 63 bids. A few details in the attachment there. Complete programming assignment in Java, so 65 bids, posted 3 days ago, so a huge number of bids on that one, presumably because any kind of computer programming assignment can be very easy for people. You don't need a good English language to turn out what can be quite simple programming assignments for students there. And an Excel assignment, so somebody wanting a working spreadsheet which will fit on one screen, done for them. Again, very simple basic computing that you don't need a whole load of skills for, and that got 32 bids in just 2 hours. So you can see the number of bids, the number of people really keen to do work for students hasn't stopped. It's actually become some quite huge numbers. In this next part of the training, I want to look back at the original research results from 2006 and see how these still apply now. Now, obviously the numbers aren't going to be directly relevant, but I think many of the trends are still the same. So this is the process that we called contract cheating in 2006. We've certainly extended upon the definition since then, but essentially it uses a site like rentacoda.com, now freelancer.com, that I showed you in the previous slides. And what happens is a student creates a request for a piece of work to be done. Then this is opened to people on the site to bid to complete the work, and I've called them their sellers, perhaps workers is a better name, but people bid to complete the work. So they put out the different amounts of money they want. So one person may want $20, one may want $30, one may want $50, and so on. I'm using American dollars because that tends to be the most common currency, although nowadays you can price your bid in whatever currency you want. What happens after that point? Well, the student selects one of the sellers, so it could be the cheapest one, but they could also look at the reviews. There's an eBay-like process on there, and at that point the person who's bid successfully to win the work creates something for the student, and this is an entirely original piece of work, assuming you've chosen somebody who won't plagiarize themselves. So the student is getting original work done for them, they're contracting out the work, and they're using that to cheat. And then the student submits the original work as if it were their own. Now, the escrow process which is used on Freelancer is quite useful for students because it protects them. That means essentially they pay, but the money is held by the site and not released to the worker until the student has got back an assignment that they're happy with. So one of the big questions there that I asked about what we call agency sites now, or were called auction sites back then, are that do we think of this as plagiarism? And in my mind, yes, we certainly do, because plagiarism is taking the ideas or words of someone else and using it as if they were your own. And in this case, this is certainly getting ideas and words from somebody else. But the big challenge is, can we prove that students have taken work from other sources? And it is so difficult even today to get the body of evidence needed to support that, and also to get academic policies that support that. And so there are still many problems that exist to this day relating to proving cases of contract cheating, even when you have a suspicion that work may not be the student's own. So what was the research? What would you find? And there are loads more numbers in the actual paper, but here are a few just headline figures. First of all, when we looked at Rentacoda, we found that over 1 in 10, in fact I think that works out as 1 in 8 of the bid requests on Rentacoda were contract cheating. So just to put that in perspective, this site isn't only used for cheating. There could be perfectly legitimate business uses. For instance, a business would like a website producing for them. They want some blog posts that will go up on their blog writing for them. They can use this site, but back then 1 in 8 of the pieces of work or the requests made were pieces of work for students, and that was made from a 3-week exhaustive check. Now, I haven't got exact numbers to compare that to today, but I believe that percentage will have gone down. But that's mainly because the sheer volume of work going through Freelancer is so much greater than it was 10 years ago, because people believe in the value of outsourcing activities in their own businesses. What was the extent of use? Well, we looked at 2 months at everything, or 236 contract cheating requests identified over 2 months. not necessarily everything, because these are ones that we were absolutely sure were contract cheating there. And then we drilled back to find the people who'd made those requests. So some people appear in that 236 more than once, but they may have made requests outside that. Well, only 19 of those requesters had made only a single bid request, and really the headline figure there is that most of them, over half, had made between 2 and 7 bid requests. So this is suggesting that there are people who are using sites like this on an habitual basis. They're getting success with outsourcing one piece of work, and they're continuing to do it. But there were some large groups who'd made 51 or more bid requests. Not necessarily all of them for student work, but from my checks, the vast majority of this was student work. 6 out of those, out of the people included in there, had made more than 51 bid requests, which is a massive number. And this is people essentially who are acting as middle of the chain. They're taking orders in from students, and then they're not doing the work themselves. They're outsourcing the work through Freelancer. And this is how many of the current essay mills, the essay writing services, work. They take in work from students, but they don't do the work themselves. They get re-outsourced back out through an auction process, rather like this one, whether it's in the public or whether it's hidden inside that site, and they produce the work for students. So this gives us these 3 different user groups: the very low number of occasional users, the habitual cheaters, and the non-originality agencies, the people who are just using this as a way of getting work done as part of their agency. So these groups are still there. The non-original agencies are much bigger now, but there's still habitual cheating going on in certain groups of students. And it's been shown in things like the My Master case in Australia, which looked inside an essay mill. They managed to break into it essentially, and they found the same people were putting orders in through that site over and over again. So what recommendations can we make about contract cheating, looking at this 10 years on from the original presentation? Well, these were the thoughts I closed with at the time of the original presentation at the JISC Plagiarism Conference, that this was going to become an increasing problem of academic integrity. It certainly is, or has been, as you can tell by the vast amount of media attention still paid about this, and the fact that academics are starting to take notice about the need to think about their assignment design, that standard plagiarism detection techniques don't work. Unfortunately, they still don't work, and I don't believe we're much further on in finding software systems or solutions to detect plagiarism, so it may be that's not the correct way forward anymore. That we do need to look at university regulations to make contract cheating something that's not acceptable, and that's been partially successful, but I think there's still a lot of regulations that don't mention contract cheating, or they just lump it in with all types of plagiarism. And I think we need to spell out to students why this is wrong in regulations, and I certainly suggested at the time that the assessment techniques needed redesigning. This has happened at different levels. So for instance, GCSE now has moved almost exclusively away from coursework back to exams, and where there is a type of coursework, it's actually a controlled in-class assessment, a monitored assessment, rather than students being able to go away and do this in their own time or get their parents to do it. And we're still thinking about what changes we can make, because students do need assignments, they do need to build up a portfolio, and not everyone is suited towards exams, but how can we make this work at university level? Now, I want to add, after the course questions and answers, the answers are still waiting to be found. My real 10-year aim, and this is what has come up a lot in my own talks, in talking to other academics, and in questions and answers and just general discussion, is how can we reframe how students think about cheating? Can we promote a culture of academic integrity among students? Because I think students are our greatest partners in the battle against misconduct they don't want to see, and the challenge of preserving academic integrity, because students feel really strongly when they see people cheating. Even looking at that example from the site earlier on in the talk, the Cheat House, where there was a discussion and people could upload their essays, even back then there was discouragement from some students about cheating, and I know students feel very strongly now they want to work for the grades they deserve. They don't want other people getting grades they don't deserve, and then bringing the honest students' work and academic qualifications potentially into disrepute. So really we need to think about our students as our partners, because our students are so important in everything we do as educators. To leave you with some additional contract cheating resources. There's a lot of publications in this area. These are some of the ones that I've been involved with. There's now, thankfully, 10 years on, a growing body of work from other people as well. Some of the really interesting things I've seen recently have been looking particularly at who are the people doing work for the students, and some of my own emerging work looking at the whole marketing behind these sites and how students are attracted to use them. Most of my research doesn't go in the form of formal papers anymore. It goes in videos like this and in terms of the sets of slides. And these are just a few examples of some of them in my SlideShare account, some of the long-standing ones with thousands of views, some of the newer ones just starting to emerge, such as the Decade of Contract Cheating. And if you go to slideshare.net/Thomas Lancaster, you can review these slides at your leisure. And the video is at youtube.com/user/Dr Thomas Lancaster. Now chances are you've found this also on my blog, which is at thomaslancaster.co.uk/blog, and great opportunities for discussion there over the internet, but I'm also very much available for discussions in person. Some of my more interesting talks can cover most disciplines of contract cheating, aimed at staff development, sessions aimed at students, aimed at new staff. Really interesting stuff on cheating in tests and examinations, in terms of the technology used, in terms of how contract cheating and paying for work has extended into those areas, and some really interesting stuff I think on cheating in nursing, an area the media is always interested in, some of the international people involved with cheating, and whole area about the marketing of sites. And area I'm working on quite a lot now is how does the whole essay site process work? Who are the people involved with it, and where does all the money go? Because there's millions now, millions of pounds going through these sites every single year, and that's just in the UK, not talking about the worldwide market. So do drop me a line, send me a message on Twitter at Dr Lancaster, use the hashtag @contractcheating. Very keen to hear from you, because 10 years is really just the start of the work on contract cheating. Students will continue to find new ways to cheat. We need to continue to help out the honest students who deserve to be successful in everything they do. Thanks for joining me, looking at eliminating the successor to plagiarism 10 years on.